What if we
You
slip
could have
the couch?
her lay down.
Yeah, it's Titanic.
Yeah.
What if we
Titanic.
slip it back this way?
Wait, satanic?
For what reason?
Titanic.
Oh.
So if you-
Oh.
As with everything, there's no such thing as a simple video shoot in my mind. Every shot, every scene, every shoot, it's got complexities to it that you gotta work around and that you gotta always pay attention to. In this case, probably one of the biggest things that we hit was weather changing. This is one of the first times that we actually went through doing neutral density gels on the windows. Typically, for most of our shoots, it just, so fast-paced, we just didn't have time to ever really think about neutral density gels, and we just would purposely blow the windows out. In this case, we wanted to try to preserve the windows and kind of move to that next step of just kind of controlling the light even further. But sometimes it just didn't quite work out.
So what I'm doing in my head is I'm trying to be like, nothing we did from this angle with the light was working on this side. So I want to mimic this light. I want to make this, basically move the light over here so it looks like we're shooting you from the windows again. Although, I'll tell you what, that shot did not look like daytime.
Which one?
The last one we did.
No, it did
It
not.
looked like nighttime outside.
Which
Okay.
actually looked
It looks
pretty
great.
cool.
Yeah.
But it was a weird, it was because of the things we did on the window.
Yeah.
But
Well, also because I think the sun went away after we put the ND up.
right.
We had one shot that was actually shot during day, but it kind of has a little bit of a night feel. But we had ND'd the windows, and after ND'ing the windows, the sun went away. Now we've got like 3 stops of neutral density on there and not enough sunlight coming through anymore. So, oh well, that happened. For us, we believe it's really important to make sure the aesthetic of the film always feels like it's part of their brand. When you watch their video on their website, we never want you to feel like, oh, this must have been done by some other production company. We want it to feel like, oh, this must have been done by their in-house team or by whoever did the website, or, it should feel cohesive in terms of the branding, in terms of the colors, in terms of the feel. And there's not really a good way to go about this. It's kind of more a little bit of intuition. I mean, looking at their website, looking at what pictures they have, trying to figure out their personality, and just trying to get everything that's gonna match that. We had originally brought our tripods, and as we did the first 2 or 3 shots of B-roll, we quickly realized that this individual, Mariah, the client who we were shooting the video for, just had so much energy in everything that she did. The staticness of the tripods just didn't really work in this case. It was too smooth, it was too buttery, and so we quickly ripped the cameras off the tripod, and we had slow motion, so that would help us stabilize the camera enough to where we could get just kind of that nice little fluidity and a little bit of motion, which just really aided to the energy of the B-roll that fit the personality of the individual. Also, Mariah, she's a very colorful person. She's got pink hair, so we try to make sure there's a lot of colorful elements, but also as we were helping them choose which Airbnb to go for, keeping those elements in mind of, okay, what was their brand? Their brand was kind of modern, but it also had this, for me, I called it kind of the modern wood look, where it's got that living essence to it within the modern, without it being like that super clean, stale modern. It was that living modern. We were giving suggestions. They were the one in this case who were picking the location, but we were very strong in our suggestions about what would work for their visual look to make sure that essence came across perfectly in the final product. I think when I first got into video, shooting this kind of lifestyle type footage that it always was a little hard for me to conceive how would you light something like this, because it looks great with the sunlight. And really, at least how we approached this was use it as if it were sunlight, even though, throughout the day the sunlight's gonna be changing. Really, we were just setting it up to mimic the sun. So shooting it through a window, shooting it through diffusion cloth, always just keeping the light behind them, giving them a rim light, and that's pretty much what it was. Where it's more just kind of on that one side of her face.
Go back, and then I'll tell you to go back again. I need to see the A, B.
So there's A.
Okay.
That's where we were.
Okay, now B. B's better, right there.
Yeah.
Right there, yeah. Good call, that's much better.
Nice west end.
Yeah.
It's at 22%, should we? On occasion, we would have a big light inside that we're bouncing off the roof just to lift up the shadows. But lighting was pretty simple. It just was always, every time we changed to a little different of angle for the B-roll, moving the lights so we're getting a nice rim light on them, or moving the lights so we're lifting the shadows a bit. And that pretty much was it. You know, we planned it out according to the sun, and well, I guess we didn't have control of the light when the clouds rolled in, but luckily we were able to have enough high-powered lights to where when the clouds rolled in, boom, we were able to just stick up a 3K or 2 of them and mimic the sunlight when it wasn't quite available. Now, probably one of the biggest troubles that we ran into on this shoot was audio. It was a very small little Airbnb that had been rented, and it had very flat walls, and we got a lot of really weird reverb off the ceiling. Just kind of the shape of the house created some kind of weird echo. So we ended up having to take a little extra time to clamp a bunch of fernies or blankets up and be able to kind of block off that sound. For those of you who haven't done that, basically what you're looking to do is you're just looking to bounce off where the sound would be reflecting. So talking this way, my mouth is projecting out, so we're putting a blanket here as much as we can. Typically we can't put one on this side because that's where the light's coming from. So we're trying to diffuse it on one side, diffuse it on the floor, and then we find it's really important to diffuse it above where possible. Not always possible, and sometimes it's kind of difficult to get that upper blanket, but when it's possible, or if you can make a little extra effort to make it happen, it really cleans up the audio really nicely. Audio is the most important part of the interview, so I prefer actually to have the microphone in shot, especially when we're on locked cameras. So typically we'll shoot with a little wider, and then we have a really nice tight. The tight is on a loose lock, so it's gonna be moving with the individual as they move for the interview, so I don't ever wanna see the mic in that because it's gonna be hard to remove it. But on the wide where it's locked, piece of cake to, you know, crop out a microphone that's just sitting barely above their head. As long as the microphone doesn't cross the line of their head, piece of cake to remove. I like the look of the wide angle contrasting against the close-up, and so we tend to try to shoot a little bit wider, and then we just hang the mic into the shot because we can paint it out later. And I would rather have the mic as close as possible so we're not picking up as much echo and we've got a nice, beautiful recording of the voice, rather than sticking it a foot or 1.5 feet higher than it should be to try to accommodate our wide angle lens. Now in the end, the edit to this video is a pretty straightforward edit. It will be what we call talking head, right? The interview of, in this case, the client telling her story and telling the process of how this product helps individuals. And then we will have B-roll on top of that. With that, we pulled together a bunch of questions. We went through our process of communicating with the client. We asked questions to them, kind of surveyed them to figure out really what they stand for. We find it's hard for people to be able to talk about what they stand for in terms of by answering questions on a piece of paper. But when you turn into a conversation, it's very easy for these individuals, specifically business owners, to communicate passionately what they believe in and what they're all about. Then we can take that and turn it into a script. Then we can take that and reverse engineer it into questions that we can then ask them again to provoke those same thoughts. So that's what we did for the interview segment. And in the B-roll segment, you know, we had an idea more or less of what those questions were going to be and what B-roll could complement what they're going to talk about. If time is a luxury for you, a lot of times we like to just shoot the interview segment, go back, edit that whole entire thing into a content edit, and then come back and film B-roll that fits perfectly with that content edit. In this case, not a luxury because we had to fly the whole crew out to New York and then drive from JFK 4 hours into the Hamptons. So it was shoot the interviews, shoot the B-roll.
When we're talking about Evergreen for your online course, all that it is taking all those best parts of what you did live to promote your course and then putting them together in an automated system.
So yeah, in the end, the team did a wonderful job. It was great working with them. For this crew, we had Jamie as our focus pooler and also just kind of basic assistant on set, really just kind of pulling all the strings to help make sure Drew as the cinematographer and myself as one of the backup camera operators were kind of assisted through that whole process. Jake Larson, who's our marketing partner, he was there just kind of help make sure that everything was going in the right direction so we could match it with the marketing content. And then we had Hunter, who's our bonus feature guy, there with us to make sure we could grab some awesome stills and get some great footage that you guys are seeing.
Alright, so let's cool her down all the way. This is gonna kind of become our